Alright, so this chapter is called Formula Evaluation. So we'll be evaluating formulas. I have two examples to start this video with. The first one reads like this. This is a formula. P equals 2L plus 2W. That's actually the formula for the perimeter, P for perimeter, of a rectangle, length L, width W. Okay? We don't really need to know what the formulas are for at this point. We just need to be able to use them. Okay? So the directions here for number one are to find P. That's a typo. That should say if. Find P. If W equals 5 and L equals 8. Okay, so there's two types of problems we'll be doing in this chapter, really. One's where we plug numbers in, like in number 1 and number 2, these first two examples, and we solve a linear equation for one of the variables. And then later on, we'll get to problems where we'll just solve in terms of another variable where we won't be plugging things in. Okay, I'll show you what I mean when we get there. Well, let's start with the basic ones first. So I want to find P if W is 5 and L is 8. So all I do is plug those numbers in. Okay. So not too bad here if we remember how to solve these. So P equals 2 times L, which is 8, plus 2 times W, which we know is 5. Okay. And once we do these problems, once we plug in our variables, there should only be one unknown left, and that's what we need to solve for. Right, and it tells you find P. So our final answer should be P equals. Okay, this one's fairly easy. 2 times 8 is 16. I just follow my order of operations at this point. 2 times 5 is 10. So P equals 16 plus 10, which is 26. And that's it. I'm done. Alright, next example. D equals RT. That's actually the formula for the distance. If R stands for rate and T stands for time. Okay. But again, we don't need to know that. We just need to work with it. D equals RT. Find T if R equals 50 and D equals 100. Okay, so I'm going to plug in 100 for D, like it says, equals R is 50. It says RT, that means R times T. Right? If two letters are next to each other, it means multiplication. So I'm just going to put times T right here, times T. Alright, so 100 equals 50T. Another easy equation. Again, this is just a linear equation. How do I solve for T? And this is important, especially later on. We recognize that there's multiplication going on here, 50 times T. In order to get T by itself, I have to divide. Right? I divide by the coefficient of T. In order to undo this multiplication, I got to divide. Right? And that'll give me T by itself, which is the goal, because that's what we're looking for. Find T. Alright, 50T divided by 50 is T. But if I divide this side by 50, I also have to do the same, of course, to this side. And that gives me a solution. T equals 2. Alright? Hopefully you're with me so far. Moving on. Example number 3. Okay, convert 32 degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit. So we're given the formula of conversions, approximate formula, 5F minus 9C equals 160. This is the relationship between degrees Fahrenheit and degrees Celsius. Okay, so they're telling me I have 32 degrees Celsius. You might have some idea of how hot that is. This should be pretty hot, I think. Okay, but of course we're more familiar with degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, because that's what we use here in the United States. So we're more familiar with that. So we want to know how much is 32 degrees Celsius given this formula, right? The formula that relates to 2. So we do it just like we did the previous ones. 32 degrees Celsius, I plug the Celsius temperature in here. So I get 5F minus 9 times C. C is 32. Equals 160. That's a little messy. Let me try and clean that up a little bit. That says 5F minus 9 times 32. That's a little bit better. Equals 160. Okay? So they're not telling you really this. The directions are a little different. It doesn't say solve for F, but that's really what we're doing, right? We went to degrees Fahrenheit. So I need to get this variable by itself. Alright? So again, this is the linear equation. You did this in the previous chapter. So we know how to do this. First thing I'm going to do is multiply 9 by 32, right? So I got 5f minus 9 times 32 is 288. Use your calculator if you need it. And that's equal to 160, which I didn't do anything with yet. Okay, now solving linear equations, in order to get f by itself, I need to get rid of the 288 first, so of course I'm going to add it to both sides, plus 288. Of course, if I add it to that side, to the left side, I got to add it to the right side to keep the equality. Okay? And now I can get my f term isolated. 5f, that's gone, right, equals 160 plus 288. Okay? If I add those together, I should get 8, 4. Okay, we'll just use your calculator. 8, 4, carry the 1, 448. Okay. And now we are one step away from the solution. I have to divide by 5 to get f by itself, right? Just like before. We've done this before. It's just given to us in a little different way. So f equals whatever 448 divided by 5 is. Let's bring the calculator up and figure that out. 448 divided by 5, and that gives me my solution of 89.6 degrees. Okay, so we thought it was pretty hot, 32 degrees Celsius, and it is. 32 degrees Celsius is approximately 89.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? Alright. Now, the type of problem that I told you was coming, the ones that are a little bit harder. Okay, so the first 3 examples, we got a solution that was a number solution. We were given numbers to plug in, and we were able to solve for a certain variable. Okay, now the rest of the examples, I have a few more examples of the other type, the ones that are a little bit harder, I think. So look at this one. It's the same formula, the Fahrenheit Celsius formula. What I want to do is solve for f. Okay, when I say solve for f, just like in the last one when I solved for f, I got 89.6 degrees. In this one when I solve for f, I still want f equals. Okay, f equals something over here. Only this time I'm not going to get a number like 89.6, because if you look at the original problem, they're not giving you a value for c, right? They're not giving you anything for this c value right here. So what we're going to have to do is follow the same rules of algebra and solve for f. Okay, so see if you can follow this. So if to get f by itself, it's the same idea. I got to get rid of this expression first. How do I get rid of this expression? I add it to both sides, right? So I'm going to say plus 9c to both sides. Plus 9c to both sides. Okay, negative 9c plus 9c is 0. So I've eliminated that term, so that's good. So it leaves me with 5f equals, and now here's the part that's a bit different. 160 plus 9c, I can't add those two terms together because they're not like. 160, 9c are not like terms, so I just write, I do the best I can, which is 160 plus 9c. That's it. 160 plus 9c is just 160 plus 9c. Okay? And then the next step to get f by itself is to divide by 5. Right? Same steps. It's just a little bit more complicated because I can't add these two guys together, so I get I'm going to have a funny looking answer. But that's okay though. The algebra process is the same. So to get f by itself, I recognize I have to divide that by 5. Right? Because 5f divided by 5 is f. Okay, so that down here, that gives me f by itself, which is what I'm looking for. And now I have to divide this whole side by 5. So this is where you got to be careful. To keep the equality, I divide the whole side by 5. Okay? And I can stop there. If you want, you can take 5 into both of these terms. That will be the same thing as 160 divided by 5 plus 9c over 5. Okay? So if I want to do that, let's come down here just to show you that you can have two answers for this one. So it'll be 160 divided by 5. 160 divided by 5 plus 9c divided by 5. Okay? So in this case, I can't do anything with 9c over 5, right? Because 5 doesn't go into 9. So I got to leave that piece alone. But I can divide 160 into 5, right? Divide 160 into 5. I know that 5 times 30 is 150, so it should be 2 more than that. But we're just going to go to our calculator, just to be sure. So 160 divided by 5. It's 32. Alright. So now I have my same formula written for another variable. Okay, that'd be 32 plus 9 over 5, 9c over 5. Okay, so there's two, they're the same thing, mathematically they're the same. This is f, 32 plus 9c over 5, or I could have left it like this. It's kind of a matter of preference. Right, up here we had another solution. This first one was a little less work, right? We could have stopped here if we wanted to, so I say why not just stop there, because it's a little less work. But either of these are the same thing. Just be careful not to divide only the 160 by 5 and get an answer that says 32 plus 9c. That's incorrect, right? Because I got to take 5 into both of those if I want to go a step further. So look at the difference between 3 and 4. They're very different problems, right? In 3 and the previous two examples, we always got an answer, a number answer. All right, and that's more standard. That's what we're used to. Now we're gonna have to work with problems like this, where we don't have a value for c, so we're really just solving for one of the variables, get it by itself. Okay. The next video we're gonna do a few more examples like this.